This is Distance from Center. I'm John Horton. Trent's off this week. Special guest this week is Mr.
Freddie Winter.
Hey, Fred, glad to have you on the show, man. This coming weekend is the Masters. Last week, 3 weekends in a row have been a unique format of Masters qualifying. Give us your thoughts.
Well, it's obviously been different this year. Every other year up to this point, the Masters invitations have been sent to those that have been in the top 7 on the elite ranking list. And so people travel throughout the world, and one of their big aims as they try and move up that list is to try and get into Masters. Well, last year there was no elite points. The International Federation cancelled them, I think correctly, given that people couldn't really travel around the world. We had a good pro season in America, but those guys stuck in, I don't know, Dominican Republic or Europe couldn't attend. So it was the right decision then, but of course it caused an issue for the Masters. How are they going to select their athletes? And there was no perfect solution, I think, but what they came up with was these 3 events where you have to qualify in the top 2 or 3, depending on the event, to make it into to get your invite. And fortunately for me, I was already invited as the current champion, so that was quite nice.
Yeah. So look, not everybody universally loves or hates this format. It is what it is. But it definitely created a new level of drama. It's interesting. The skiers that made it in, it's a different group. Starting with women's slalom, we've got 3 women that were not even in the top 20 on previous elite lists, with Chelsea Mills, Vanessa Veek, and Bree Carter. So from their perspective, it's fantastically exciting. They're super dark horses going in. But that means that somebody like Sam Dumala, who is legit, top 5 or 7 in the world, and then somebody who was on fire last fall, Elizabeth Monavon, they're not going to be in the event. Now, I don't know if in the old elite list, if Elizabeth would have made it, but wasn't she second at Mastercraft Pro last year?
Second at Mastercraft Pro, and I would add to that list Karen Truelove too. I mean, what an amazing skier who didn't make it. And I think that I don't want to present a strong opinion here, honestly. I think that it was a hard situation that the Masters Committee were in. I think that it was a tricky one, but we've mentioned some names of women's slalom, but I think the best example of all is Thomas de Gasperi, who is not skiing in the Masters.
Well, hold on, Winner. I'm getting him in slalom one thing at a time,
okay,
man.
Sorry.
Yes, de Gasperi's. Well, it's all right. It's all right. So, and actually you look at the women's field, potentially missing Jamie Metcalf, Amber Frank, like you said, Karen Truelove. But did Karen go to the qualifiers? I don't think she tried. Neither, or Brianne Dodd. Were they there?
Karen was at the one at Drew Ross's place in near Orlando, and she was, I think, one and a half boys away from making the cut. She ran a 2 at 39, and I think that she didn't do so well over at Jack's this past weekend. But yeah, I mean, it's a really tricky one. It's definitely been who's really on form in May of 2021, who's making it into Masters. Vanessa Veek, I mean, obviously a very good skier, but not someone that I would really have put my hat on at the start of the year to have got in.
Well, and to be clear, I just don't think that she has a history of skiing elite events. I mean, people have seen her, but she's kind of an unknown, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and that's cool too. I mean, but I think the question that some might ask is, is the Masters, as it is, I mean, there's no question it's the biggest pro event there is. Is it for people that are not entering pro events? Well, maybe it is now. I don't know, but I think that I've got to say, personally, I always liked the traditional way, and I believe it'll probably go back to that way now that we have tournaments happening this year. But I think that when you have a lot of tournaments and people participate in those tournaments, and then one of your rewards for being high up on the list of the pro skiers is to go to the biggest pro tournament. People strive all year for that.
Well, and Yeah, and I could argue against that and say that, once you qualify for the Masters, there's so many elite points that you get at that tournament. It makes it way easier to get to it the next year. It's really hard for somebody to get into their first Masters, even if their scores are great. So, I regardless. So men's slalom is really interesting. So as you said, De Gasperi not being there, everybody's like, okay, well that's the thing that we hate about this format is one of the most consistent slalom skiers in pro skiing in the last 10, 15 years. How long's been Gasperi been at it? He's amazing, right?
Won his first Worlds in 2007, right? I mean, the guy's been on fire forever.
Right. And, I think technically he's become a better skier as he's gotten older. He's great. Also missing Nephew, who had a really strong year last year, I think. Howley, I'm assuming Joel just didn't fly over from Australia because of the still COVID restrictions. And that's my list of people that are missing. I mean, interesting in the field. Oh, go ahead.
Let's just look at De Gasperi for a second.
Okay.
The guy. Sorry, I got to say it. The guy. He in 2020, the year that he entered 4 tournaments. He came second at Moomba with a run off for first and beat me. I mean, he crushed it. He came. He then turned up at Malibu was his next tournament, and he came 4th, but he missed his gates, and good chance he would have made the podium. He went to the Swiss Pro and came 3rd, and he went to the Mastercraft Pro and came 3rd with a run off for first. This guy is he's deserving of being at the biggest tournaments, and he's been unfortunate that he had poor form in May. So that's that. It sucks for Thomas. I sent him a text. I like Thomas, and I said, man, that's just unfortunate for you. It sucks, and I'm sorry, but I think he's the biggest example of someone that probably you would say 2-time world champion. He's won Masters. He's won Moomba. He's been there, done that, nearly everything. I think he's probably the biggest example of someone that you'd say it's really unfortunate to not be there.
Right. So could not agree with you more. But at the flip side, Dane Meckler ran a 5:41 at the second LCQ. I don't think Dane Meckler was on anybody's radar to make Masters. I don't think his elite points were there. But 5:41, I mean, holy crap! The guy's an amazing skier, but I didn't know he was that good. So I think that's a really big positive. And then, holy crap, Robert Hazelwood ran a 4:41. I mean, he's a Hazelwood, right? I mean, maybe the greatest ski family, at least, if not ever, to come out of England, I think. 4:41, that's pretty legit for a guy that, I mean, people know he's good, but I didn't think he was that good.
Well, and to do it on the biggest stage, to get in. Well, I say the biggest stage, but when all the pressure was on to get into the Masters, he managed to do it, and it was the final round, and it was great. And I think Dane too. Dane, when he ran the 5, he already knew he was in, so he was kind of on that nice, let's relax and enjoy it. But he ran 3.5 in the first round, I believe. And I think so. So again, I mean, these are big scores under pressure. So. Really good skier.
How tall is Dane?
He's not the tallest.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
He'd be.
But is it?
He'd be, I don't know, 5'10", something like that. But there are advantages to being shorter. I mean, there's less advantages, but he uses those advantages just like Regina does. She's a smaller person, but she uses her race car, to its strengths. And Dane he's a lefty. He's got a huge onside turn. He's got a low center of gravity, and he uses that really, really well. So honestly, with those two assets, low center of gravity and a big onside lefty at the Masters, he's dangerous.
Yeah, I got to switch feet because I'm short and right foot forward. It doesn't help me at all.
Yeah, that's not helping.
So the other two guys that got in that we wouldn't expect is Cole McCormick, but I mean, again, another amazing water ski family, if that matters. He's been on a tear, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised. I think Cole could be the next guy to run 41. Super intrigued by his skiing, and then Cole ran a 4. And then the last guy to slide in, I believe, was Sean Hunter. Ran 3:41 at both the second and third event. So I think that was the minimum score to slide in was 3. Does that match your recollection?
Yeah. I mean, just a second on Cole. Cole is the guy that would have been, along with Thomas, he would have been pretty screwed if he hadn't got in, because he was really, really consistent. End of last year, he did pretty well. He made finals at Hilltop, at I think he definitely did at Mastercraft. He did at Swiss. So there was no elite points last year, but he was up there in every event. So I thought he was going to qualify earlier on, and he ran the 4:41 in the first qualifier, but then missed out in the subsequent runoff.
Right. I guess my point is 2 years ago, maybe I'd heard of him, but I didn't think he was a Masters caliber skier, and now I think he really is.
Yeah, but 2 years in sport, right? People move up. I mean, Cole is he's a late developer in some ways. I mean, I don't know how he's probably mid-20s, and he's really made the step up after leaving college, and when he was more or less a full-time skier, and now he's got a job and he's skiing better, which is a bit backwards, but he can ski. And it's very interesting watching him ski. He has his own style, and he's on that La Pointe ski, which people don't know much about, but he's making it work.
The ski looks good. I'm intrigued. I tried to get Chris to let me try one. And he's like, no, or can't have a ski, but that's fine. So also in the men's field, there's, the usual suspects: yourself, Smith, Asher, Travers. It's going to be a good dogfight. It's going to be a fun show. I'm going to be glued to the TV, and my wife's going to be trying to get out of the house so she doesn't have to hear it.
Well, here's what's interesting about the men's field is that there's 9 people. There's 4 people who have won it. There's 4 people who've never been there before, and there's only Robert Pigozzi who has been there before but hasn't won it. So he'll be trying to write that.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Pigozzi's amazing too. All right, and then not to labor the other trick and jump too much, because let's be honest, we're slalom skiers. If my notes are correct, Ryan Dodd is not coming, and I guess I heard a rumor of an ankle injury. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I think it was the injury that he sustained at Malibu last year, and I think he said that it's just one of those things. I mean, it happens with injuries. I mean, I hurt my ankle, and they do just come back if you tweak them wrong, and ankles are tough. So I don't think he's in big trouble. I'm not the expert. I'm not in Ryan's ear the whole time, but I think he'll be okay, but it's probably one of those things he's just got to take a bit of time off at the wrong time, unfortunately.
Right. So if things are normal, it'll be a Fred Krueger show, one would assume. And then also missing out of the women's jump field, I believe Jacinta Carroll, again, is not making the trip because, again, she can fly to the U.S., but then it's super hard to get back through customs back into Australia. Is that what you've heard?
That's exactly what I've heard, and I think Jacinta hasn't lost an event since 2013. The last event she lost was Moomba 2013, and she's also won 7 Masters in a row. So right. Someone's going to win a Masters for the first time, I believe.
Right, for sure. All right, man. What else you got?
Well, what have I got? I don't know. So Masters this weekend, obviously, big tournament. Lake 38 the following week, which is also going to be pretty cool. And then after that, a bunch of European tournaments. We've got France, followed by Spain, then Italy, then Greece, and that's all really exciting. I mean, we didn't have those in 2020, but just really excited to get that side of the so-called pond back amongst pro skiing. That'll be great.
Awesome. And just to be clear, all these events you're mentioning are affiliated with Waterski Pro Tour. What is that URL? What's that website the listeners can go look at?
It is waterskiprotour.com. Very imaginative.
Very imaginative. Do you want to give a quick overview before we close on the purpose of Waterski Pro Tour?
Well, so the points, the elite points that we've been talking about, they got revamped this year to pro points. The International Federation sanctioned a new document, which basically it's very similar to elite points, but it just makes it slightly more marketable. And then this Waterski Pro Tour initiative that I'm involved with, and a few other people who are a lot smarter than I am are involved with. it's just to try and market the sport better. So there's an Instagram account. We're going to link that up with Facebook and TikTok and all these things that are very cool and hip and young. And then a website to where people can really understand when all the events are happening, get all the information, who won, what's the webcast, central place. It's really, the idea is just to make sure that people, instead of having to go to 17 different websites and follow this guy on Instagram or whatever, just, okay, I'm into pro skiing. I can go to the Water Ski Pro Tour. I can put my email address in. I can get the updates. All very simple, and hopefully just facilitating water skiing. People to find it, make people have an easy central hub to follow water skiing from.
Awesome, love it. All right, thank you very much, Fred. Folks, make sure you watch the Masters this weekend, and I'm gonna go ski.
Cheers, me too.